Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Cannon Chatter TV with me, Stephen. And as always, I'm joined in London by G. How are you tonight, G?
I'm good. Very good personally. Little bit all over the place with regards, obviously this week's events and football. But we'll get into that in a couple of minutes. But yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good this end. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I took a couple of days off social media, give myself a bit of a break from things, and yeah, I'm quite happy tonight. Not maybe for the reasons that some people are. I'm happy because tomorrow I can finally get my hair cut after 6 months.
You've been looking forward to
Close
this day.
contact service. I have. My close contact services are renewed or reopened tomorrow in Northern Ireland, and I am so excited at 11 o'clock to get my hair cut. But then, unfortunately, I do have to go at, I think it's about 2:30 and get my second COVID vaccine. So I'm not overly looking forward to that because I did have a bit of a reaction to the first one and I took with bad flu-like symptoms for 24 hours. So hopefully it'll be okay. A lot of people have been saying that they've had reaction to the first but no reaction to the second. So fingers crossed that's what it's like for me.
Fingers crossed, man.
So tonight, obviously, there's been a lot going on this week and probably won't touch on it too much because we want to get back into the way of talking about what we're really here for, which is football. So we have a game tomorrow night. We have a home fixture against Everton in the Premier League. You could argue it's essentially a bit of a nothing game based on where we are, but it still deserves to be talked about. So we will play the title credits and let's get into it.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. The first time it's happened.
So, as I say, we have a game tomorrow night against Everton, and obviously we're all aware of other things going on around that game. I suppose we'll have to sort of touch on it a little. I mean, what's your overall feeling of this week? Obviously, now that the whole European Super League has supposedly collapsed, how have you been left feeling?
Yeah, so like I kind of touched upon at the beginning of the show, it's been a real kind of roller coaster of emotions this week. And I think it's really hard at the moment as a football fan and as an Arsenal fan to feel positive and really kind of optimistic about the future of both football and Arsenal. And there's a couple of reasons why, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because we'll be here all night. You know what I mean? So I think generally it's mainly to do with the motives, behind the creation of the European Super League, the intentions behind the opposition to it from the corporate companies. I'm not talking about the fans. I'm talking about your Skies, the hypocrisy from Sky and, UEFA and FIFA. And then also, the rumored reasons why it dissolved, being that the clubs were paid off, by UEFA. So in a way, it's just kind of left a real kind of bad taste in my mouth. The whole thing was just really kind of like a big circus. And so, yeah, it's kind of left me quite dejected and quite disconnected from actually football this week for the first time in a long time. And obviously, aside from the European Super League situation, league position wise, we are 9th. We're going into this game with, very little to play for, with a depleted squad. And obviously, we have a massive game next week, against Villarreal, which, I know all Arsenal fans will be absolutely buzzing for. At the same time, I said to you before the show, I have this horrible feeling that, given our role in the circus that was the European Super League for however long it lasted, I feel as though, we may be playing against 12 men over those 2 legs. So I'm not very optimistic with how things may go for the rest of our, Europa League campaign. So, yeah, trying to stay upbeat, trying to stay positive. Like you said, I'm really glad we're just playing a match. I don't care what match it is, even if it was a friendly. I just want to watch my team play. But yeah, the mood is low, but I'm trying to stay positive. How about yourself? How are you feeling, Stephen?
Yeah, well, I mean, as you well know, I struggled the last couple of days with my sort of whole rationale behind things. I needed to take a break from things. There was a lot of stuff getting to me, a lot of the sort of what we talked about before, hypocrisy of certain things. I think there's a lot of stuff we don't fully understand as to the reasons. And I know obviously Josh Kroenke came on and did his piece tonight with the supporters forums and stuff. I don't think we really got an awful lot of answers out of it. And it's great that he came on and had the conversation, but I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, they didn't put the tough questions to him," and they were asked. People were saying, "Oh, they didn't ask this and they didn't ask that," but they didn't actually ask the real tough questions of, "Tell us more. Tell us what actually was involved." In this. The reasons behind it. Saying that because we want to play Barcelona every week. Well, yes, that's one reason, but tell us the real reasons. What was the figures behind it? What was the real incentive to be involved? Those were the questions that needed to be asked, not just, what are you going to spend? Are you going to invest your money? Are you going to sell the club? Do you believe in English football and this sort of thing? And those were the wrong questions. It's great that they're asking things like that, but they need to get to the crux of it, which is why? Why did you put us into this? And let's find out why, because there could have been a real valid reason, but they didn't bother to actually try and drill down to find out about it. So yeah, it's been a difficult week. I lost a little bit of heart this week, and kind of like yourself, and kind of thought, I even questioned whether I wanted to continue doing this channel over the whole thing, and that's why tonight we don't want to spend too long on talking about it, and we want to get back to talking about football. Because that's what we're here for. We're here because we love Arsenal and because we want to watch Arsenal play. It doesn't matter what the competition. It doesn't matter if it's, essentially this is a meaningless game because we're, as I said to you earlier, if we win this game against Everton, we'll go above them in goal difference, but they'll have a game in hand. We're currently 7 points behind Spurs and Liverpool, who are going to be the teams in 6th and 7th in the league. So in reality, we're not qualifying for Europe through this league. Can we make up 7 points in 6 games? Realistically, no, we can't. We have to be honest about it. A lot of things would have to go our way for us to make up to that ground. So our only hope really is the Europa League. But it still doesn't, we can argue that it's a meaningless game, but we still play for pride.
Yeah.
You still want to win every game that you go into. And you'll notice in all the shows that we've done, I have never once said we're going to lose this game. I've never once actually backed against us, and I never will. I will go into every game. The worst result I'll ever say is a draw. I will
100%.
never say we're going to go into this game and we're going to lose it. Because I can't. It's just not in me to think that we're going to lose a match. If I actually go into a match thinking we're going to lose it, I would just give up. I wouldn't bother supporting the club anymore. I'll always believe that we're going to win the games, and that's what I have to think. Even though, as I say, tomorrow night is effectively it's a dead rubber game, I still have to believe that we'll play for pride and that we'll play to win that game, and that we will win that game. So, yeah, difficult week, but. You know what? We've got to get on. We've got to get back to the business of football, and we've got to look at tomorrow night and this game against Everton. So, I mean, I know we're all sort of a little flat when it comes to the football, but how are you feeling about the game? Do you think we've got a good chance of winning it? Obviously, there's a few injury concerns we've got next week to look ahead to. What's your feelings going into this game tomorrow night?
Like you said, I think it's really important that the players approach this game as I believe they will. They're professionals, they're competitive. So it's really important that, they approach it in the right mindset because, it does seem as though there's not much to play for with the league. And football players, as much as they're professionals and as much as they're competitive, they are human beings. And they're probably, looking at it as well, thinking, they're looking at this fixture, but they probably got, one eye, if not both eyes on the Villarreal game. We do have a depleted squad, I think I counted about 5 or 6 key players that could arguably be first team players out for the Everton game. So I think it would be a great opportunity for, I believe Arteta has to rotate the squad. I think given the absences that we have, I don't think he can risk playing a full strength side of what we've got left because, one or two more injuries and we are literally, scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of squad depth. So I do expect there to be a rotated side. And I think it's an opportunity for, for some of the players that maybe haven't, played week in, week out, that haven't featured. Hopefully some of the youngsters, might get a run out. And it's a real opportunity for them to kind of prove themselves. At the end of the day, we know that this squad is going to go through quite a few changes, probably over the next couple of windows. And a lot of the players in the squad, I'd say the vast majority of the squad are playing for their place in this team, moving forward. So, yeah, I'm feeling confident about it. We can win the game. Everton, as much as they've had a good season and where they're sitting in the league, they're kind of hot and cold. They can look fantastic one week. They can look awful the next. And regardless of our injuries, we have quality players in the team, to play against Everton. And we've got players that can hurt them, and we've got players that can defend well and play well. So I'm confident that we can get a result. And yeah, so, I'm in a way, I'm just looking forward to the game because I just want to watch some football. I just want to watch some football.
Distraction from everything else.
Yeah, and just watch Arsenal play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's take a look at your lineup. So is this a predicted lineup or is this what you want to see?
This is kind of like, for me, this is like what I would pick in terms if I was Arteta, and it's really difficult. Like when I picked it, I found it quite difficult because for me, I don't want to field a team that is going to lose the game. And what I mean by that is I think if we just throw in, all the kids or, a very weakened side, the last thing we need, given the situation, what's happening outside or off the pitch, the last thing we need is a drubbing tomorrow night. I don't think Arteta can afford to fill the side that, and if I was Arteta, I would not fill the side that I don't have any confidence would, that could not win the game. So for that reason, I've picked what I consider a reasonably strong side. It's got kind of a mixture of experience as well as youth, but then at the same time, I think it would be good for some of the senior players to get some minutes in their legs before the Villarreal game. So I've kind of gone for a bit of a mixture here. So I've started with Leno in goal. I think given some of the players in the team, given the fact that we're missing some really, really key, senior players, I do think, where being a goalkeeper, you can play, how many games a season. I think it would be important to have his experience in the side. Because it's just going to be key to have him. I think, the fact that we're missing, David Luiz, potentially Odegaard, Aubameyang, Lacazette. I just think I would start with my number one for this match. Now this is going to sound maybe a little bit bizarre, but at the end of the day, I think Chambers moving forward is our first team right back. So that's the reason why I'm going to play Bellerin. I'm going to play Bellerin because I don't really want to see Chambers go off injured and have to rely on Bellerin for the Europa League campaign. And also, I think it's pretty much certain that he's gone this summer. I think, some really reliable, sources and journalists have confirmed that. And so it's an opportunity for him to show off, what he can actually do. And maybe, notch up that price tag a little bit more for us in the summer. I'm going to start with Holding in the right centre-back position. And this is merely because I can't really see any other player playing there. We don't have another right-sided centre-back. Salaba's on loan. David Luiz is injured. So, Holding's going to have to, get his boots on again and put in another shift for us. Gabriel, I'm going to play in the left centre-back position. And that is merely because out of the two, him and Mari is the in-form left centre-back at the moment. I think he's played himself into the first team. And I think given the magnitude of the Villarreal game, I would rest Mari. I would wrap him up in cotton wool because I think he's going to be crucial to our success over those 2 legs. So that's why I'd start Gabriel. Great defender. Have loved his contribution this season, but something's just not quite right with his performances at the moment. So I'd play him in a game where I feel as though we could afford him to not have the best of games, if that makes sense. In the left back position, I really do not want to see Xhaka. I have to make this fundamentally clear. I do not want to see Xhaka play. I don't care how good he's been. I just do not want to see him play left back. We have a player who is fit, as far as I'm aware, who can play left back. And for me, you either rest Xhaka because he's played the most games out of any other player this season, or you put him in midfield. But I just don't see the point in playing him at left back, against Everton. So for me, 100%, I would play Cedric at left back. I'm gonna answer that question. No, Martinelli, don't you worry. In the midfield, I've kind of gone with Thomas Partey. I think he was such a key signing. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player, moving forward. But he has missed a lot of games, and I do think, with the rest since the last Premier League game, I do think it'll be good to have him in the side, ahead of the Villarreal game. I think it's good that he'll get extra minutes. I think he's definitely a player that could definitely control that midfield area and really cause problems for Everton, break up the play. They've got some strong players in that midfield, Decore, Allen. So we do need a physical presence in that midfield. And I think he's the only midfielder out of all the midfield options that we've got that, for me, can match those 2 players physically. So that's why I pick Thomas Partey in the midfield position. I'm going to go with Ceballos. I think most recently, Ceballos is playing for the move, because he seems to have had a rise in performance. He's had a couple of good games. Should have got his first goal. So I'm going to stick with Ceballos in the midfield, and I'm going to give Xhaka a rest. Number 10 position, I wasn't really sure who to go with, because I think Odegaard's out. Then I've seen pictures of him being in training, so I'm not quite sure. I know Smith Rowe is probably knackered, but he's had a bit of a rest. And I still think, given the fact that Odegaard's been pictured in training, I don't think he'll be ready. And I think there's only one player I can play, and that's Smith Rowe. Been great this season, so I'm sticking him in the number 10 position. I'm putting Pepe on the right. I think Pepe and Saka, rotating is such a good option for us on the right. And I don't really want to risk Saka, getting injured ahead of the Villarreal game. That probably gives you an inclination that I will start Saka against Villarreal. But I think Pepe is good enough to come in, do a job, and potentially win us the game. So I'm going to start with Pepe on the right. Now, the reason why I'm starting Willian on the left, so thank you for the question, whoever you were that put it in, is because for me, I'm looking at our striking options, and I'm just thinking to myself, the last thing we need right now is for Martinelli to get injured. If Martinelli at this stage gets injured, we have no Laka, no Aubameyang, and no Martinelli ahead of the Villarreal game. That, for me, is a complete disaster. Complete disaster. So, as much as I probably would bring him on at some stage, depending on maybe how the game's going, I really, really don't think it's wise to risk him. I think this season has proven, that, his comeback from injury hasn't gone to plan. There have been times when he's had to have been withdrawn, he's had to have been rested. So I think for me, as much as I'm by no means Willian's fan, I'm going to start Willian on the left, because for me, Martinelli will start against Villarreal and should start against Villarreal. So that's why I've not picked Martinelli for this lineup. No other reason, nothing to do with performance, nothing to do with anything other than I don't want to risk him ahead of the Europa League game in the week. Now, I'm going to start with Nketiah. This also might be a little bit controversial, because I think, with Balogun, Balogun has signed that contract. He's staying. So for me, there isn't really a massive need to kind of start him in this game. It would be nice to see him play, but for me, I think we should put Nketiah up there. I think he scored in the last game, confidence will be high, and potentially as well, I'm thinking long term. He's leaving this summer. I could probably put my house on it that he's leaving, and I think it would be good for him to get some minutes, in the Premier League, so people can see what he can actually do. He might have a good game. He might surprise us. So that's why I'm sticking in Nketiah over Balogun, because really there are only kind of two striking options. So yeah, that's my team.
Okay, excellent. Thank you to and do you know what? I'm going to butcher your name, and I apologize for this completely. I'm terrible when it comes to the pronunciation, but I want to say Shashank Garg. If that's not how you pronounce it, I do apologize. I really, wholeheartedly do. But coming in with that comment, obviously Martinelli, but then giving us his lineup, I think we should go. I'm going to do this in reverse. I'm imagining you're probably going to say Leno in goal, but you haven't put in your goalkeeper. So at the back, Xhaka, Gabriel, Holding, Bellerin, Ceballos and Partey in midfield, Pepe, Smith Rowe and Saka as the three behind Martinelli up front. I mean, it's a good lineup.
Yeah,
it is a good lineup.
Strong lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, yours is still a reasonably strong lineup as well. It's one of them things at the minute. Because obviously you've gone with the team that you would like to see. And I think more sort of now what I'm doing is I'm trying to go with the squad I think that Arteta will pick. And I think we're in a difficult position tomorrow night in that, there has been so much go on this week. And let's not forget that has completely distracted from the fact that we came away from Fulham with a 1-1 draw.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should have been beating Fulham, and that has been completely overshadowed. Because of everything that's gone on this week. It should have been. We should have been talking about that game so much more, but we're not. We haven't touched on it as much. And I know we did a bit on it on Monday night, when I was on Anthony's channel, the Republic of Barcelona. We talked about it a bit on there as well. But again, the whole thing was overshadowed by everything else that's been going on this week. And the simple fact of the matter is, we should have won that game, and it's not good enough that we're not winning these games. So, we're going into this game tomorrow night. We need to get back to football, and I think Arteta's in a difficult position. I'll just read this out before I say. I feel Jesus is more realistic than mine. Mine might be too strong for a non-Europa League game. Yeah. Yeah. So I do believe that Arteta's in a difficult position. So he goes into this game tomorrow night, and there's already fan unrest. Yeah. And there's already, supposedly going to be a lot of people outside the ground tomorrow night. Yeah. Now, whether those supporters hang on until after the match, it's an unknown right now. But if we don't get a favourable result tomorrow night, it's only going to add fuel to the fire. I'm telling you. It is really an uneasy time at the minute. So, for me, when I was picking my team, I kind of thought Arteta has to go with basically as strong a lineup as he can. Yeah. He has to look at getting a win in this game. I know we've talked about it being essentially a dead rubber, but we have to play for pride. And we have to be seen to be trying. If he puts a weakened side out there tomorrow night and we lose uncomfortably,
can you imagine?
Uncomfortably, it's not going to be good, And arguably, our fans are fairly united this week. I mean, the majority of people seem to be wanting the same thing, and there's always been that divide between Arteta in and Arteta out, and whether certain players are good enough and certain players aren't good enough. If we lose tomorrow night and we lose uncomfortably, and when I say lose uncomfortably, I mean if Everton put us to the sword and score 3 or 4 goals, it's going to be a nasty.
Yeah, it's a nasty evening.
Yeah. So I think, as I say, Arteta has to put out his strongest 11 that he can. So I've gone for Leno in goal. Not that Matt Ryan did anything wrong. I mean, I hate to use the term pre-assist, but
Mm.
he came up for the corner. He got the flick on with a header that went out.
Yeah.
I can't remember who hit the shot for Martinelli to get the tap in for the goal, or not Martinelli, for Nketiah to get the tap in for the goal. So he was involved, and he in terms of in goal itself, I don't think he really did anything wrong.
No.
But I think we need to be playing our first choice keeper, and that is Leno. He's had a game off. He doesn't arguably need an awful lot of rest because he's a goalkeeper. So get him back, get him ready for next Thursday night. At right back, I've gone for Chambers because, as you rightly said, I think now he is our first choice right back.
Mm-hmm.
So I've put him in. I've put Holding in alongside him because, again, he is, with David Luiz out, although I believe David Luiz started light training again today on his birthday. Happy birthday, David Luiz, 34 today. You'll not see your 35th birthday at the club, but, let's not worry about that. So Holding has to play. Mari, for me, as you said, he has been our best defender. I love Gabriel, and Gabriel has a massive future, but yes, there's something just not 100% right now, and I think Arteta trusts Mari more in the big games, and I certainly think Mari will play next week against Villarreal. So, again, get him in, get him that wee bit of match sharpness again. We had a game off there at the weekend, so he hasn't played now for over a week. Get him in. I've gone with Xhaka at left back, and because I think Arteta will continue this ridiculous experiment of playing him there. People are saying, "Oh, he's done a good job at left back." He's done a good job in the sense that he hasn't been tested. No one's really pushed him. We haven't come up against any opposition that's really challenged him and played down that side. And I worry that Everton could be that team to just show him up and to prove that he's not supposed to be in that position. But we'll see. But I do think that's where he'll play tomorrow night. Like yourself, and again, apologies for the pronunciation, Shashank, I'm going for Ceballos and Partey in midfield. I think we need that strong presence, and you've arguably got a choice between Ceballos and El Neni, and which is the lesser of two evils right now. At least Ceballos will try and go forward. El Neni will just pass sideways and backwards. So
he's a better player.
It has to be Ceballos for me. I've gone with Saka on the right. He is our best player in that position right now. I think Odegaard may be back, but I don't know if I would risk him because he's just fresh back off the injury. He's only started training potentially yesterday, maybe only today. So I don't think I would be putting him straight into the team tomorrow night. Going with Martinelli on the left because I think we talked about this the other day. The one thing that lets Martinelli down a little is his passing. And that's why I ultimately think he will end up as a striker rather than a winger. But his turn of pace and his ability to do bits and pieces, I think we'll continue to play him. He needs the opportunity now. He's getting a run, and it's harsh on Pepe because Pepe has been playing well, and one of them has to miss out. And like yourself, I've gone with Nketiah up front. It's not that I particularly rate Nketiah, as I've said before. He's a 5-yard poacher, and I don't know that necessarily our style of play suits that. But I just think it's too soon to be playing Balogun against the likes of an Everton in the Premier League. I just don't know that he's ready for it. I certainly think if he's in the squad, he will get on, and we'll probably see him for maybe 20 minutes because we know Arteta likes to make the subs at the sort of 70, 72 minute mark. So the likelihood is Balogun will get on and get 20 minutes towards the end, which would be great, and hopefully he'll do bits. But I think Nketiah will start. So yeah, I mean, as I say, I think he has to go with the strongest lineup. I just don't think he can afford to not. My concern is with the likes of Nketiah, Smith Rowe, Saka, Martinelli, we don't have a tall. They're all quite short.
Yeah.
In comparison to the likes of Yuri Mina in the middle of Everton's defence.
Yeah.
That guy, 20 feet tall. He's a big gangly lad, but he can defend.
Yeah. Even their front players, Richarlison, he's a tall lad. Calvert-Lewin, Decore.
Calvert-Lewin's, he's not necessarily that tall, but he's got a good leap on him.
Yeah.
You know, he can leap and he can head the ball. And, you know, we've got to be wary of the likes of James Rodriguez and, you know, players like that as well. These creative players, we have to be on our game tomorrow night because Everton are still pushing. Realistically, Everton have got a good chance of making the Europa League.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be really in a position to make Champions League, but they certainly have an opportunity to get into the Europa League. And I mean, that's what Carlo Ancelotti's there for. You know, when he came into him and Arteta took over their clubs at the same time. And we've had an FA Cup win, and we're in the semi-finals of the Europa League. Everton are doing better in the league than us, but it's only slightly. Now, you know, this is the thing. As I say, we win tomorrow night, we go ahead of them on goal difference, albeit they have a game in hand. So, you know, that could answer a lot of critics in terms of the, you know, should we have gone for Ancelotti over Arteta? You know, if we can finish above them, it says that maybe Arteta was a better choice. It's hard to know.
Yeah.
We're not going to finish above Spurs. We're not going to finish above Liverpool. And that hurts, the not finishing above Spurs, but it is what it is. You know, it's not the end of the world. So, what's your prediction for score?
I think it's going to be a tense evening, and I don't necessarily feel that's going to be all to do with what's on the pitch, what's happening on the pitch, or what's at stake. I just think the atmosphere leading up to this game. I think, you know, with the players arriving to the stadium, you know, and you know what's going to be kind of welcoming them, even though it's not necessarily directed at them. I think, you know, it's going to have an impact on the players. So I think it's going to be a tense evening. I think, you know, in a way, I'm really kind of impressed by your thinking about it, because I was thinking more about the Villarreal game, but I think where you kind of your thought process in terms of like the team that Arteta should pick and the reasons why, I think you're bang on, because I think, you know, he literally cannot risk there being an issue, you know, with regards the level of performance and obviously the result. So yeah, you're definitely bang on with that. So I think it's going to be a tense evening, but I'm going to go for basically a very tight, maybe 2-1 to the Arsenal.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think, as I said, I think we need to play a full-strength team. I would love us to come away with a 3-4-0 win. I don't think it's going to happen, but, you know, it would be the best thing, the best medicine in the world right now would be to come away with a 3 or 4-0 win. And that's not an argument of it papers over the cracks and stuff, and it doesn't. It puts a little bit of a positive on the end of a negative week.
Yeah.
You know, the club has had an awful lot of negative press this week, and more so for some reason Arsenal than any other team.
Yeah. It's always the way. Always the way.
Center of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking just before we came on. I was flicking through Sky Sports app on the phone, and there was about 4 or 5 stories about Arsenal and their involvement. And I think there was maybe one about the other 5 teams put together, and that was about Woodward leaving because he felt he couldn't. No
talk about Spurs or Levy. No talk about Chelsea and Abramovich. Literally, it's crazy. The agenda the media have against Arsenal is so blatant, and it's just so it's crazy. It's crazy. Good evening.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Don't waste the tweet. That is DWTT. Thanks for joining us. We're just we're almost wrapping up. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's an agenda against Arsenal from the media, and it's so disappointing that we are getting so much coverage. But it's great that the club's getting so much coverage in the sense of, there's an old sort of saying in business, and that's maybe the wrong thing to be talking about right now, given this week. But there is that old saying that no publicity is bad publicity, because it gets the name out there, and it gets people. If there's people who aren't involved in football, I mean, I've noticed this week people talking to me about football who have no interest in football.
Yeah.
I've been having conversations with people about it, and they've no real interest in talking about football, but they've been interested in what's going on.
One is including my wife.
Yeah, my wife is the same. Mainly because she's been, what's wrong with you? Why are you in such a bad mood? But,
so true.
But yeah, I mean, people they're suddenly taking an interest in it, because they want to know what all this commotion is about. So in some ways, it's great that we're getting the extra publicity, but in other ways, it's it's negative publicity, and I don't want things that make the club look bad, because we are a great club, So yes, but back to the score, which is where we're talking about. I think I'm going to be honest. I think a 2-2 draw.
Okay.
And that's the worst result I'll ever predict as a draw. But I do think it's going to be a 2-2 draw. I would love us to get the win. I really would. You guys watching live, drop in the chat what you think your score lines are going to be. Everton are a good side. We have struggled against them in the recent past. We've had other good wins against them, but they're a good side under Ancelotti. He's got them well organised. They started the season phenomenally. Yeah, they've obviously tailed off now, but you could argue they've had a lot of injuries and stuff, and we do have a lot of injuries. I worry that some of the players, although I'm saying we need to play a full strength squad, I do worry that some of them will be a wee bit hesitant going into the Villarreal game, in the sense of, are they going to pull out of 50-50 tackles? Because they don't want to risk getting injury. It's a difficult one. We genuinely don't know what's going to happen. So yeah. All right. Well.
Yes, it's definitely going to be a tense evening. For many reasons, like I say, that are not so related to what's going on the pitch. So, I just hope that, whatever happens tomorrow evening, that it is peaceful and it is constructive in terms of the protest, and I just hope that the lads can deliver and we get 3 points that can instill some confidence and some pride in the league, and then obviously look ahead to Villarreal. So yeah. Okay. That's what I'm wishing for.
If anybody watching live has any questions, drop them in now. We'll come back to them in a wee second. A lot shorter tonight because, as I say, I think we've really wanted to focus on the football rather than the other stuff. There's been a lot of talk this week, and we need to sort of get on with talking about the football as well. So it has been a wee bit of a shorter show tonight. But as I say, if you have any last questions, drop them in now while G does his traditional close.
Yeah. So guys, thank you for, wherever you are in the world, for watching and your continued support. And if you are watching this at a later date or time, thank you also. So you can follow us on all our socials. We are on the vast majority of them, if not all of them. Facebook, which is Canning Chatter. Instagram, which is at Canning_Chatter. You can also follow us or, do whatever you need to do on Twitch. I'm not massively, in tune with what goes on there. But yeah, if you've got a Twitch account or anybody that does, follow us at Canning Chatter. Most of you, as I say, every single time I do this, most of you will know us from Twitter. You interact with us. Our official Twitter account is at Canning Chatter. And Stephen's Twitter account is at SB Canning Chatter, while mine is at G Talks Arsenal. And I think most importantly, if you do enjoy our content and you do, kind of like what we do with regards to our shows, then please do, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, turn on those notifications. We do have, regular content. We do probably on average about 3 shows a week. Obviously, once the season's over, we've got some other great content coming your way. drafting up some ideas. So really looking forward to that. So yeah, thanks for the support. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and turn on those notifications, guys.
As always, thank you as well to our sponsor, the Matchday Shop, located in Hornsbury Road, www.thematchdayshop.com. If you haven't, check out Dan's website and see some of the great memorabilia and other bits and pieces of merchandise, especially for those people at the minute who don't want to be investing in the club. Invest in Dan's shop. You can still get your Arsenal memorabilia and Arsenal merch without the money going to the club. Okay, so last couple of comments and stuff there. As I say, firing through Gabriel and Holding. Why I'd rather Holding a Mari or Mari Gabriel. If Party starts, then I hope he gets subbed off soon after half time. We can't play without him. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
we're not the same team.
We've seen that Party is essential to our midfield. He really is. And I said the other night, when it comes to Party, I actually think Party plays better in the middle of the park on his own, because obviously at the minute what you have is with Ceballos playing, Ceballos is pushing further forward to try and support the front four, and Party's sitting back a wee bit. And I arguably think he has been better without Xhaka beside him. I think Xhaka almost holds him back a little. So in some ways, the moving Xhaka to the left back works in that it frees up Party. But yeah, I mean, I'd be the same. You know, especially if we were in the lead. You know, if we were 1 or 2 up going into the last half an hour of the game, I would be Party would be the first one I'd take off.
Yeah, 100%.
Him for Villarreal. You know, you don't want to risk a contact injury. And I say contact injury in the sense that, you know, a muscle injury or anything like that could happen in training. So it doesn't, you know, you can't legislate for that. But yeah, contact injury more likely to happen in a match situation. So if we are in the position where we can get him off, let's get him off as quickly as we can. Gabriel and Holding or Mario, you know what? I think what you're trying to say is what's the preferred centre back pairing. For me, at the minute, it's Mari and Holding or Gabriel and Louise. But when Louise is out, you know, I think I don't know what the problem is between Gabriel and Holding. They just don't seem to have that same communication at the minute. I think Gabriel plays much better with Louise. So for me, you know, I definitely think Holding and Mari rather than Gabriel and Holding. So what about you, Jay?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's become really evident, you know, that, you know, the best 2 partnerships we have are Gabriel and Louise, or Holding and Mari. I think it might just be to do with, you know, I say experience, and I'm not really talking about age, just kind of like the demeanor of the players. Like as good as Gabriel is, he definitely is, you know, lacking in kind of experience. So I think he works well with David Luiz, because David Luiz in a way kind of takes control. And I think the similar situation. So when you've got Holding and Gabriel, both individually, you know, decent players. Obviously, I think Gabriel's a better player than Holding personally, but I think there's no general leader between the two. As good as Gabriel is, I don't necessarily feel like he's the leading centre back that he will grow into as of yet. I think he's got all the right, you know, attributes, you know, the physical presence, the speed, etc., etc. But I think he needs somebody a bit older and a bit wiser next to him to kind of, you know, help him. You know, first season in the Premier League, you know, he's done fantastically well, and I think that's similar with Mari and Holding. As good as Holding can be on his day, I think Mari really is the communicator there. He kind of takes control over the defense. So, yeah, those are definitely our 2 best centre-back pairings. But with David Luiz being out, I think in recent games it's been very clear and obvious that, you know, Holding and Mari works a lot better than Gabriel and Holding.
Yeah. Okay. That looks like it's it. Chat's not been quite as active tonight. I think people are probably a little fed up with talking at the minute. Maybe just want to see some action, see some football. I want to end, and I did this on Monday night, and I kind of feel like Jerry Springer. You know, Springer's final thought, and I think, you know, we may turn this into a feature. I may get a wee graphic made up. Stephen's
Why not?
End the show with Stephen's words of wisdom.
Yeah.
What I want to say is, obviously, we all know that there's protests planned tomorrow night before the game. And if you are going to it, what I would say is, firstly, stay safe. Remember that COVID hasn't gone away, and there's still a risk there with that. I know it'll be outside and what have you, but keep your distance from each other. Be vigilant. Don't let yourselves get drawn into any sort of violent conduct and let it go down that route. Remember who you are. Remember who you represent. And there's been a lot of talk this week about that. We are Arsenal. And it's the fans have very much gone on about remember who we are, and remember David Rocastle said and things like that. And do remember it. Remember the eyes of the world will be watching tomorrow night. Don't let yourselves down. Don't let the club down. Have the protest, but do it peacefully, do it constructively, and make your voices heard.
100%.
Arteta said it today. The fans have a right to make their voices heard. So do it if that's what you want to do. If you're going to be there, do it peacefully, do it respectfully, but do it safely. And remember, you're representing Arsenal. And on that, I'm going to say goodnight. G, anything else you want to say?
Yeah, no, to be honest, I think you wrapped it up brilliantly. I echo every single word you said. So looking forward to the game tomorrow night. If you are going down to the protests, as Stephen said, stay safe. And yeah, have a good evening, guys.
Great. We'll be back on Monday night with the review, and we'll start to look ahead to the Villarreal game. Good night. God bless. Have a pleasant and safe weekend, and we'll talk to you.